I was 17. 2 officers escorted me, cuffed, into the new housing unit that was called Administrative Segregation Unit, which was the Isolated Confinement. The officers then proceeded to strip search me, so I was naked. Someone said, "Yo, Sarge, are we supposed to put him in a room with somebody? I think he's a juvenile." The Sarge said, "Put him in the room by his fucking self." So they put me in the room by myself.
Solitary confinement means isolation. It means putting someone in a cell for 20 hours or more per day.
Solitary damages you mentally, it damages you physically, and it destroys you emotionally.
A lot of people ask me, well, how did you survive? Who said I survived?
50% of all suicides happen inside of solitary confinement. It only exacerbates mental illness, it exacerbates anger, and it's just not working.
No one knew where I was at for 2 months. A mother didn't know where her son was at for 2 months.
Under international law, 15 days or more in solitary confinement can amount to torture.
Take off your underwear, hand them to me. Take off your bra, hand it to me. Lift your breast, bend, spread them, squat, cough. You have no idea how humiliating that is.
And one day I could hear her, because she was only 2 cells away, punching her wall and screaming. Now keep in mind that our walls were cinder block.
And on the other side, I had a guy who would paint his cell with his own feces.
So I would tie a sweater around a pillow and then around my head after my ears were stuffed with toilet paper because I couldn't sleep.
It's hard not to lose your mind.
So when we think about the collateral consequences of the torture of solitary, it's not only traumatizing the person in the moment, but also traumatizing a person lifelong.
I spent approximately 4 years in New Jersey's isolated confinement units. You don't come out undamaged, you come out damaged. I am damaged.
To this day, I wrap a sweater around a pillow around my head to go to bed.
The Isolated Confinement Restriction Act significantly reduces the use of solitary confinement in our state. It also puts certain restrictions and protections in place when solitary is used.
It limits the amount of days that people can spend in solitary confinement to just 15 days, which is important because with anything over 15 days to be considered torture by international standards.
The bill also prohibits certain vulnerable populations from ever being put in solitary. That includes people who are 21 or younger, or 65 or older, people who are pregnant, people with serious medical conditions, developmental disabilities, or mental illness.
These people need treatment, not punishment. And there are ways that which we can separate people from the population without having to isolate them. We can hold people accountable for their actions without necessarily subjecting them to the torture of solitary confinement.
If prison is about torture and punishment, then all we do is reflect the very thing that we're putting people in prison for. Yes, sometimes the safest thing is to get people away from other people. But how do we do that in such a way that we don't destroy them in the process is what we're trying to achieve.
The bill applies to all prison facilities and all county jails. And so that means people serving their sentences, and it also means people who are detained pre-trial and people in immigration detention.
We believe all of us that are directly affected by the issue have some of the most powerful voices. Voices that specifically represent the aspects of the bill.
People ask me on a regular basis, why should I care? They're prisoners. They committed a crime, they shouldn't have done it. I'll tell you right now why you should care, and care deeply. 93% of the people inside our jails and prisons are coming home.
It's really important that we see people for who they are, the best person they can ever be, and not for the worst thing they've ever done.
At any given time, between 1,200 and 1,500 people in the state of New Jersey are in solitary confinement. Something has to be done.
So if you're watching this video, there's a number of ways that you can help. Contact your legislators and say that you do not agree with the torture that is happening in our state.
Tell the governor's office that when you get that bill on your desk, you have to sign it. Torture is not an option.